I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karen Russell, Ruoff Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington. Hello, and welcome to At Home in Bloomington. I'm your host, Realtor Deb Tomorrow, joined as always by the lovely Miss Karen Russell, best damn lender in the state of Indiana. Right before we just started, hit the record button, you're screaming at your brother.
Yes.
To lock his rate?
Yes.
He's refinancing?
No, he's buying.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting because he's going to buy, and then it's going to give him an opportunity to fix up his house and then put it on the market.
Excellent.
But we've been in talks since Sunday. Like he texted me like super late, like, "Hey,
so that's 4 days ago.
Thank you."
And he needs to lock his damn rate, is what you're saying.
I'm like, let's do this. Let's get it going.
Kevin, if you're listening,
yes,
lock your damn rate. All right. So, okay, I'm just gonna put it out there. When I walked into the office, I got here before you. We record this in your office. Mm-hmm. So I walked in, it was all dark. There was a lone bottle of wine standing on your desk.
Yes, there was.
But you hid it.
I did.
Why?
It's under the desk. Well,
Why?
I don't know our guest, and so I didn't want to give that impression that there's just a random open bottle of wine sitting on the desk.
Because that never happens.
That never happens, but it was gifted to me. Mm-hmm. I know it's open, but it was gifted to me by someone in the building that just said, "Hey, I have a bottle of wine on your..."
And you're pretty sure no one spit in it or anything like that?
I'm confident enough, but...
It's a dry red, though. It doesn't really matter, right?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Equal opportunity wine drinker.
Okay. That was just a little foreshadowing. Do you like Sound of Music? That movie? You ever watch it? You've never seen The Sound of Music?
I've never seen The Sound of Music.
Lord
I know. Add it to all the other things I've never seen or done or heard of in my short time.
We may have to hit pause and go watch it and then back. Okay. Although last episode we were attempting to quote Legally Blonde 2. I was failing miserably at it.
You were attempting to quote that. If it was Legally Blonde 1, that's different.
If it was Mean Girls, you'd be all over it and I would be clueless.
Yeah.
We should do the show now. Okay, so I was going to say these are a few of my favorite things, and I was going to add, because that's a song from the movie, right?
Oh, you should have said Oprah.
Okay.
Like Oprah's favorite things, like, yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Okay.
There's two ways to look at everything, isn't there?
Yeah, so Sound of Music.
So list your favorite things.
My favorite things?
Yeah, what are some of your favorite things?
People. Okay.
Let's be a little more specific.
Oh, Justin Timberlake is a favorite thing.
Okay, that's on my list. Of yours.
Victor Oladipo. French fries is a favorite thing of mine.
Yeah. How about your children?
Them, yes, both of them.
Husband?
Oh, he's on there too. Yeah.
Your dog?
Yeah. You tricked me.
I know. Okay.
I do.
Anything else? Favorite things?
Wine.
Okay.
Pasta.
Okay. So today's show is about one of those favorite things.
Oh my goodness.
It's like the mothership is calling you home, Karen. Can you not feel what our guests are about today?
Well, if you're going to tell me that they have a connection to Justin Timberlake, I'm going to fall out of my chair.
Yeah, right. They're going to rip a mask off and be like, "Hey, Justin Timberlake's here." No, I'm sorry. I'm not that well connected. Okay. No. You
That's
got nothing?
No, unless they have French fries that they're hiding. I don't know.
All right. Well, I will introduce our guests. We have Ben Smith and Dee Peters, and they are both from, drumroll please, Oliver Winery.
Yay! Yay! That was a good lead in that there was wine sitting
I was
there.
laughing when you walked in and you're like, "Well, I don't know who our guests are," and so they may not like the wine out on the desk. And I was like, I think they're okay with that.
You didn't say that. You were just like, "Well, I don't know," and I thought, okay,
I did say
we digress.
All right. Well, anyways, welcome. And what are your titles? What do you do with Oliver?
Thank you. Yeah, I am the assistant events manager. This is Dee.
Okay.
And this is Ben, and I am the tasting room sales manager.
Awesome. So I tried to clue you in yesterday because that's when, remember, I texted you and I said, what are you doing at 3:00? Do you have some time?
I have an opportunity.
And
did you go to a wine tasting?
I had a tour of Oliver and a wine tasting, and I didn't want to let the cat, I was going to let the cat out of the bag about who our show guest was if you could have made it.
Yeah, okay.
But you couldn't, so I didn't tell you. See how sneaky I am.
You are sneaky.
I didn't want that opportunity to pass by and not give you at least a chance to join. But you weren't in Indy, so you couldn't go
out on.
It was gorgeous out there. It was
so nice.
Gorgeous out there. So I was surprised to learn a lot of things as I've been doing some research for the show. But one is that Oliver is one of the 50 largest wineries in the country.
That's right.
And I think it's one of those things that we don't think about, like, it's in our own backyard, and we don't necessarily, like, we take it for granted, right? You drive back from Indy and you see it. And I know a lot of people stop, but I don't think they understand what a force it is in the wine industry. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
And where it came from. So the history is fascinating. So I would like for one of you, or both of you, to tell us a little bit about the history.
Take it away, Ben.
Okay. So Oliver Winery started basically as a hobby for Professor William Oliver, who was a law professor at IU Bloomington. And in 1971, he wrote the Indiana Small Wineries Act with a couple of colleagues, and that passed the Indiana state legislature, and we opened our doors in 1972 as one of the state's first wineries. So we are currently the state's, well, currently and always will be the state's oldest winery. We are also the largest, as you mentioned. We're the 44th largest in the United States.
Yeah, right. I loved that that William Oliver started in 1960, and then as he grew, he ran into some stumbling blocks and needed to change the laws. And isn't that convenient? I'm an attorney and a law professor. So what were some of the laws that he kind of had to deal with?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest one was that at this time in Indiana, you had to go through a distributor to sell the wine. And so at this point in Indiana has some odd liquor laws. Yes. We've had some blue laws throughout history. So within this legislation, it, one, allowed us to sell wine, right? Two, allowed us to do tastings. He made sure that we were labeled a tasting room, and we have a little bit of a different licensing than, say, a bar downtown would have, which also allows us to let you carry wine out on Sundays. So this was the first place in Indiana, to my knowledge, that you were able to take wine home on a Sunday afternoon. So
that law in 1971 enabled a winery to sell on Sundays.
Exactly. So this opened the door to all of the small wineries, all of the microbreweries and the microdistilleries that are in Indiana. So hundreds and hundreds of businesses that have an entire industry that has blossomed because of this legislation in the 70s.
Right.
Thank you, Professor Oliver.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I learned that yesterday in my tour, and I just thought that was really amazing. And so he started in his garage.
Isn't that where all great ideas start?
Right?
Everyone starts.
I know. How many of our guests have started in their garage?
Quite a few.
Bunch of them. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Either that or Herman Wells. Somehow they're up. Yes. I'm sure Herman Wells probably enjoyed some. He probably enjoyed some.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. And the original location was west of where you are now.
We are on the original location of the winery. The vineyard is 4 miles west of us, 4 or 5 miles.
Somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Okay. It's just north of Ellettsville.
So I think that's something that people, did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. So, the grapes, Yuris sent me with a list of questions to ask.
Okay.
This is my significant other. He wanted me to ask about ice wine and other things. But he wanted to know the vines that are along I-69 now are just kind of show vines.
Yeah. That's a demo vineyard. But
yeah, we do use those grapes.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
We grow Chamberson
and Catawba.
there.
Yeah.
I had both of those yesterday.
Yeah. They're
I totally missed out yesterday.
You totally did.
I never knew that those were, as you just called it, demo. But I don't know where I thought the actual
grapes came from.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them come from the vineyard.
Right.
Here.
Yeah. So Creekbend is the name of the vineyard. And so all of the wines that you see on the wine list when you come and visit us that say Creekbend, you'll see them on the stores, in the store shelves near Bloomington with spearheads or arrowheads on the label. Those are fruit from Indiana. So that's grown in Monroe County. But we're going to get the fruit from where it grows best. So that might mean we grow it, or it might mean we buy it from a partner vineyard, either out west in the central coast of California, Washington, or Oregon, or it could be right here in the Midwest from another grower. Yeah.
So there's 54 acres or something like that. I think.
We have a little less than 50 planted right now.
Just about 4 miles west, and there's a whole crew out there that maintains those. And I think every once in a while, do you have events out there?
On occasion, yeah. This year, we're focusing heavily on the winery events. We're starting some new event series and really inviting people to the tasting room for a lot of events. So we've kind of changed, our path a little bit this year. But next year, there might be some exciting opportunities to come out to the vineyard. It is, like you said, there's a whole crew out there who's constantly managing the vine. So it's very much a working farm. So when we do events out there, they're really special and unique.
Yeah.
And, there might be some next year.
There's a map on the wall, and there was a map. This is my tasting menu. But there's a map on the wall at the tasting room as well that shows the Creekbend Vineyard and the different plots and what's planted where. So it's kind of interesting that you can really get back to the
I don't know
soil.
why I've never turned that over. I mean,
because you got your wine glasses lined up sitting on top of it.
Yeah,
I've never turned it over to see that map.
Yeah, there's a little bit
right?
of history back there, and perhaps some member benefits that you should consider.
Right.
So yes, we're going to talk about all those.
Ben mentioned something that I'd like to just bring back up: how some of the Creekbend wines you can find in stores around Bloomington. I know that the Kroger, College Mall Kroger, does sell some of our Creekbend wines, but something that's really cool about those wines is that we don't distribute them as widely as many of the other Oliver wines that you see on the shelf all the time, like Soft Red or Cherry Moscato or Apple Pie. The Creekbend wines are unique in that you can only really get them in the tasting room and a few locations around Bloomington.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, they're a pretty small portion of the overall production that we do, and we're really excited that we get to share them in the tasting room.
They're kind of our special, craft wine. They're estate bottle. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, one of the questions I was going to ask, and I'll tell you now, and then you can think about your answers, but, what's the most popular wine, and what's the most underrated wine, and what would be the best wine to give as a gift, and things like that. So I'll let you think about those. And, we'll talk about this when we come back.
I don't know what you say.
When we come back from break. I don't know that we have time to get into all of the winemaking practices, especially the things that we talked about yesterday, which were really interesting. But give us some perspective on how much wine you make, and because that was something else that was shocking to me. And Karen, have you ever done a tour and seen some of the tanks and things?
I want to say a long time ago, and it's probably before the remodel that it currently is, if I understand.
Come back.
Yeah. Now I have to turn the map over. I have to turn the
you got to come back and turn the map over.
You make a lot of wine. Is that enough to say?
Well, and then it's like, I know Ben was talking yesterday about cases. I'm like, I don't really have a perspective. Or this gallon, or this tank holds 5,000 gallons. I'm like, I feel like that's a lot. I'm not really sure.
So we distribute to 28 states. And then we can directly ship from the winery to your home in 35 states. So there's beyond what you see at the store, at the tasting room, there are, store shelves all over the country that carry the wine. So there's a lot that happens right here in Bloomington that immediately gets distributed wholesale across the country. So I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but we distribute somewhere around 500,000 cases of wine a year, which is in the ballpark of 1 million gallons of wine a year. So if you think of a case having 12 bottles.
To you, Karen? 20%?
A little bit.
Yeah.
So that's the scale we are right now. And when we first opened, I think I told you yesterday, our goal for that first year was 10,000 bottles.
Yeah.
So to be at 500,000 cases is quite a...
And there's 12 bottles in a case?
12 bottles in a case.
That's 6 million bottles. Is my math right? I know,
very
right?
good.
I want awards.
Good job.
That's a lot of... Wow,
and when you say 44th largest winery in the country, largest is in terms of wine production.
Okay.
So,
that's a good point.
Yeah, and we're mostly competing with conglomerate wineries out in the West Coast. So, we make a lot of wine.
One of the themes that I heard, I guess, without you actually saying it, or maybe you did, during the tour, was this theme of gentle, that making wine is sort of a gentle. You don't want to beat the grapes up, and it's not, stomping on the grapes kind of thing. It's gently
That's exactly
removing.
what I had in my head when you were saying that, Lucille Ball.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Right, exactly. But it's gently removing the skin.
Yeah, that's what we actually do.
Yeah.
Is that what you... Let me see your feet. Let me see your feet. And so I was impressed by that there's just this huge operation that's sort of babying the wine out of these grapes, it almost feels like. Is that fair to say?
That's cute. Yeah, I think that's definitely fair to say. Our winemaking philosophy is to make wines that highlight the quality of the fruit from which they're made. And part of that is just that, process of really retaining the flavor and the quality of the fruit, both in the fruit that we're growing ourselves and putting, lots of hours and care and joy into, as well as all the fruit that we buy from our partner growers around the country. I mean, we're growing and purchasing great fruit. And that's why we have great wine. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, just the other part of that philosophy is if we don't have to handle the wine, we don't have to add a step, we don't want to. So as little handling, as little human contact as possible from fruit to bottle you're going to get an honest representation of what was on the vine. And that's really our goal.
And I know you've got a team of winemakers.
Yeah.
That are always testing and experimenting. And tell us a little bit about what they do and how they're involved.
Doesn't that sound like the most fun?
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I wonder how you can volunteer to be a taster.
One of my favorite things to do during the fall, especially, we're wrapping up the harvest and fermentation season right now. And so one of my favorite things was the past couple of months, you could just walk into the lab and be like, what are we working on? Let me taste some Gewürztraminer that's fermenting, or the newest batch of Traminette, or whatever it would be.
Yeah, sometimes we get to taste the juice of the grapes before it even starts fermentation, and that's really fun.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool to taste it throughout the process and sort of, see how it changes.
Right. Yeah.
But Karen, one of the downsides, just so you know, I'm trying to put things in perspective for you so you don't feel so bad about your career as a loan officer, is that, you have to keep your palate very clean. So probably French fries during the day are out.
Oh, no.
I'm sure it would be, but I'm also, I graduated, I know we'll talk about after break, the favorite wine, popular wine. I started with one that was super, super sweet.
Yep.
And now I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum, which I never thought I would ever be there. But, I would have a hard time going, okay, I'll give that other one a try, or this new flavor a try. No, I do like anything that's dry, extra dry.
Well, and that's, I think, one of the beauties. And when we get back from break, we're going to talk about the tasting room and kind of what that experience is, because there was a couple next to me and he kept trying wine and he's like, yep, nope, not my favorite. And it was the really dry red stuff. And it was, I felt like, his girlfriend had brought him there to try and kind of ease him into the wine thing. But it's a great way to sort of try some things out and learn about them and start to appreciate them. I know, way back when I started to try and drink wine, I would just sort of automatically make a funny face.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, yeah.
I still do that every now and then. You try a new bottle and you're like, wasn't expecting that. Yeah. Okay, people can't see me, but I feel like the back of my...
We'll post that picture on Facebook.
The back of my mouth, not my throat, but the back of my mouth, it tightens up back there, and then it's like, wow, wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. But then eventually you kind of ease into it, and I think you build up to it. So anyways. All right, when we come back from break, we're going to talk about the tasting room and just the experience of actually going to Oliver, because that's something that we here in Bloomington are able to take advantage of. And it's absolutely gorgeous out there all year round. So stick around. You're at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Ruoff Home Mortgage. Did you know that you may qualify for a renovation loan to make updates and improvements on your current house, or to purchase a fixer-upper you can turn into your dream home? Apply now for a free, no-strings-attached pre-approval to learn your options. Contact me today at 812-606-7653 to get started. Ruoff Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines. Equal housing lender. NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Realist. Practical advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. I rarely get asked the question, should I do a home inspection? And that's awesome. It means that one thing people get about the home buying process is that they need to protect themselves when buying, and they should get a home inspection. Here are a few things you should know about the home inspection process. Number one, home inspections are 50% protecting your investment by looking for major defects, and 50% education about your new home. A good home inspector welcomes you being there, standing over his or her shoulder, asking questions. They'll tell you things like how to change the furnace filter, how to improve the lifespan of your gutters, and how to ensure your crawl space stays dry. The home inspector wants you there, so take advantage of this educational opportunity. Number two, no one requires you to do a home inspection. While a few types of mortgages require that the home meet minimum standards in terms of condition, like an FHA or a VA loan, that review is done by an appraiser, not a licensed home inspector, and is not a substitute for a home inspection. But a lender does not require or get involved with the home inspection at all. And number three, there is no pass-fail on an inspection. We often hear the phrase, the house won't pass inspection. That's confusing and not really clear. A home does not pass or fail inspection. Components of the home are rated, usually with acceptable or defective or similar terms. And then it's up to the buyer to determine what they can live with and what they'd like to ask to be addressed prior to closing. And all of this can be negotiated, taking into account the price of the home, interest from other buyers, market conditions, and more. Educate yourself on the home inspector process, and you'll feel more confident and in control during your home buying process. Learn more by listening to my Real Real Estate Today podcast, episode 65. You can find it on iTunes, YouTube, and my website, www.athomeinbloomington.com.
My name is Joe Reinhardt, and Deb Tomorrow is my realtor. Deb helped us to sell a property that we had previously listed, for which we were unable to even generate an offer. Deb's responsiveness, professionalism, and her aggressive marketing strategy led to multiple full-price offers for our listing. And that's why I think Deb should be your realtor too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to At Home in Bloomington, one of Karen's most favorite episodes ever, I dare say. As we're sitting here with an open bottle of wine.
It's one of the favorites, and I wanted to say, looking back at your notes too, like you are my favorite.
I did put my favorite realtor when we were talking about what are your favorites.
I know.
We were my favorite.
I was thinking food and Justin Timberlake.
There you go. Important things. I did want to do a quick throwback to one of our previous episodes. Like we always start off our segment too. And I decided as I was touring Oliver yesterday that I needed to throw back to episode 37, which was Dillman Farm. Because Oliver is a great place to buy Dillman Farm products. And I also laughed because one of the first things Ben said to me when we were doing the tour was that it started off in a garage. And I was like, well, so did Dillman Farm. Apparently good things start off in garages. So check out our show with Dillman Farm and then pair them up with some Oliver products. They've got good recipes going on their Facebook page now too. So I think there's some good harvesty kind of vibes going on. Good synergy there is the word. So let's talk about the experience of going to Oliver. I know one of the things I really noticed was that it's not a straight path from the parking lot to the building. You have to kind of wind through all this gorgeous landscaping. And right now we're recording this in October, so it's fall landscaping that's beautiful. But that is part of the experience, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that we hear about. I mean, when people walk in the front door, they almost like have forgotten that they're here and that they're excited to taste wine. We're like, are you here to do wine tasting? Like, but the garden. Yeah. It's pretty cool that we hear that so frequently, and we see it, in reviews that it was just, a beautiful place to spend the day. So we're very fortunate to have an incredible landscaping team that takes care of the gardens and the pond and it's different every season. So right now in the fall, we have pumpkins galore and all kinds of fall colors all around. But if you come in the summer, it's, even more beautiful sometimes. Yeah. And in the spring, it's just even more beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's crazy that you can come in the winter and there's, they know what to plant.
Cabbage and lettuce but kale that you didn't know was pretty.
Yeah, purple kale,
it's pretty cool.
And then all the Christmas lights on
I was going to say, yes, we have holiday lights everywhere and decorations galore. So, that's definitely part of the experience. And for us, it's part of our everyday, like, we take our lunch breaks outside and get to, awesome. Look over.
Well, and I asked you, aside from tasting, I know that, a lot of people go to Oliver's to do a tasting, but you don't have to do a tasting. There's lots of places where you can just hang out. I said, do you have Wi-Fi? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, I could just go work there. It has this like aroma of wine in the background that's just kind of motivating and soothing. And so I don't know.
Or you could have wine while you're working.
Well, that too, but I'm just saying not like you don't have to do a regimented tasting with, standing at the bar doing a tasting. You can actually. But let's talk about tasting. You brought a wine for us to taste, and I do want to make sure that we talk about the variety of wines because it was much more than what I had expected.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what we're tasting, and then while we taste it, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the experience of doing a wine tasting.
Sure. So we brought with us today one of our favorites, which is Crimson Cabernet, Creekbend Crimson Cabernet. So this grape grows at our vineyard. It is a rather rare grape. You're not going to see this varietal around very many wineries. This Crimson Cabernet is a hybrid fruit. So it's actually a cross between Norton, which is an American grape, which makes it really winter hardy, and a grape that we're all familiar with, Cabernet Sauvignon. If you're a dry red drinker, then you'll be familiar with that name. And even if you're not, that might be a name that you're familiar with from shelves around your local wine store. So this has all of the wonderful aromas and flavors of berries and spices of Cabernet, with a little subtleness that kind of reminds me a little bit of something like a Pinot Noir, something that's a little bit more supple. Yeah. Gets about 12 months of oak, so it does age in oak barrels for about a year.
It's yummy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting ready to taste mine.
I know. It got quiet because we're all drinking.
I know, right? We should like, there you go. There's a proof that we were doing that. Yeah, it's very good. I liked that when I was doing some tasting that like the first one I tasted was a dry white Creekbend 3 and it said hint of vanilla and oak. And I actually was like, oh, I taste the vanilla. Like at the end, I tasted it and I was very proud of myself.
Yes.
So when someone comes in, do they need to know anything about wine? Like, I don't know when I'm supposed to swirl my glass and do this and do that. And, I mean, I'm just from Indiana.
Certainly not. Yeah. I mean, that is actually the experience of most of the people who come in. People are just like, I would love to see what this place is about and taste some wines. You don't have to know what kind of wine you like or what you're shopping for. And you certainly don't have to, put your pinkies in the air while you're sipping your wine. We like to just welcome everybody with whatever level of information that they have or that they want to have. So the wine tasting is a great way to just spend a day and have fun. Or it could be a really cool way to learn about wine and learn about your preferences for wine. So because our wine list has so much variety, we have everything from light-bodied dry reds and dry whites to full-bodied hearty dry reds to, really sweet wines and bubbly wines and a little bit of something for everyone. So when you step up to the tasting bar, you're going to be greeted by somebody who is excited that you're there and just wants to have a conversation with you and can tell you a little bit about how we make the wines and how to pair the wines if you're interested in that, which can give you, a little bit of a roadmap for your journey through the tasting.
I know that Hannah was one of the ladies that was helping me yesterday. And when I tried... Oh gosh, now I didn't make my notes. It was either the Creekbend Noir or the Creekbend Chambourson. It was a dry red, but she said it went well with turkey.
Oh, cool.
And so, it was interesting to think about, we've got that. I don't know much, but I know you're supposed to, like fish and poultry with white wine and kind of thing. But it's nice that she said, one of these would go really nicely with like a Thanksgiving. Yeah, so if you're trying to figure out what kind of wine you want to serve with your Thanksgiving dinner, it sounds like you could go and do a tasting and have some conversations about pairing.
A lot of people buying wine for weddings, coming in and looking for crowd pleasers and things. But I think what Dee said is spot on. We're there to guide you through the tasting. We're there to help you find things that you're going to enjoy. And there are over 40 different wines on the list. So a lot of people are just surprised when they walk in to see the wide variety of wines that you can have. And yes, we will teach you how to do a wine tasting if you want. if you're a novice, we can absolutely walk you through the 5 S's. Yeah.
I think the very first time I ever went out there for a wine tasting, they suggested that I start the way the menu was, I should say, to start from like left to right, so they could build up to, whatever. So,
okay, you said 5 S's. What are those? Smell would be one, right?
Yes. So we'll start from the beginning. First, you want to see.
I already drank all mine, so there you go.
It's okay.
I'm good. I'm good. I got
So there's C. So the visual of looking at a glass of wine tells you a lot about the body. People talk about the legs or the tears, gives you a clue as the viscousness of the wine in the glass gives you a little element of maybe how much sugar, alcohol, or how much body the wine's going to have. There's a lot of factors that go into that. But then you want to swirl. So you swirl your glass. You want to.
Karen and I are going to take notes.
See, swirl.
Okay.
Yes. You want to coat the inside of your glass with that wine. All wine glasses narrow a little bit at the top so that when you do your third S, your smell, you get a nice expansion of the aromas. You've coated more surface area with that wine to give you a better smell. You've volatilized the esters. There's a party term for you later. Volatilize the esters in the wine to help get those aromas out.
Like our viscosity tube.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And then everyone's favorite, sip.
Yeah.
So you sip and then savor. Let it sit for a second. then swallow, and pay attention to the beginning, the middle, and the end of that taste because it has different stages. Some wines have a short finish, a long finish, a sharp beginning, a more mellow beginning. So, 5 S's.
See, we're going to have to go back and...
we do need to go back because, we talk about just not appreciating certain things. Like we drive past it all the time, but just in what we just did, I thought I had more, what's the word I'm looking for? More respect for this wine after hearing about how they're gentle with the grapes and all that. I'm thinking about it before I'm just coming home from work, struggling to open a bottle with a corkscrew I'm not familiar with, and then just taking a sip and not really pausing and thinking through all those.
So when you walk in, you don't have to have a reservation, right, to do a tasting. You just show up?
Yeah, just show up. It only costs $5 too. You can walk in the door.
Which is amazing.
Say you want to do wine tasting, and you can taste up to 8 wines for $5.
So 8 wines for $5, which I think is amazing. And then you have some others, like you can do a premium kind of, some premium wines for another $5, or if you wanted to do just some dessert wines, which is the ice wine we were talking about, that's $3 to just taste a couple of wines. And one of the things I was talking with Ben about yesterday was, well, if you've never been in there before and it's a busy Saturday, what's that like? Because it can be a little overwhelming. I would probably be like,
you've not ever been in there?
Yesterday was the first time.
Really?
I'm ashamed.
Okay.
I've been working on coming up with an excuse as to why.
Well, if it's a football weekend, I mean, you're going to be in for a shock, for sure. But
I like my Wednesday afternoons seem to work just fine for me.
If you like a slower crowd, weekdays are definitely a little bit slower. But on the weekends, we really pride ourselves in making sure that your experience is just as efficient and meaningful as it would be. We strive to give one-on-one attention to every guest. So if you come on a busy Saturday or Sunday, you'll be greeted immediately as you walk in the door. We want to make sure that we catch you before you walk in. Whether you're a veteran and you've been there 100 times, we're still going to let you know what's unique about that day. If you are someone who's visiting us for the first time, we're going to lay out the experience as we've done with you guys today. $5 for your tasting. There are complimentary tours in the afternoons, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And then we have, if you did want to do a tasting and it is really busy, no worries. We do have a wait list that we will text you when your spot is ready at the bar. So in the meantime, you can grab a bottle or a couple of glasses, take a walk around the pond, listen to the music on the back patio on a nice summer day, or grab some snacks and take them outside. So
some Dillman Farm snacks. One of the things that impressed me, I wasn't there that long for the tasting because I was getting drunk way too fast. I'm not proud. But Hannah was really giving me a lot of just interesting tidbits about the wine. One of the things she was talking to me about were this Gewürztraminer that you had mentioned earlier, and how that's sort of changing. That some people think it's a really sweet wine, and that maybe the winemakers are sort of trying to mellow it out a little bit and make it a little bit less sweet, and just how they vary from coast to coast, have different opinions on what a Gewürztraminer is and how sweet it is. And it was interesting to me. But
Hannah's from Oregon. She worked at a vineyard in Oregon for a long time, so and that's where we get those grapes. Okay, so she's she had a really interesting perspective. Yeah.
But it struck me, what kind of training do you do with your tasting room staff? Because my gosh, there's a lot for them to know.
That's my job. So we have somewhere in the neighborhood of, it's a little shy of 35 to 40 hours of training that the staff go through before they actually get behind the bar. So while, of course, we're teaching them everything that we can about the Oliver wine, we're also teaching them about wine in general, the winemaking process. But a huge portion of that training is how to deliver sensational service. So how do we make that experience as ideal as possible for every guest and tell the story that has been so wonderfully written since the 1970s of Oliver Winery, and so that we can build relationships with every guest that comes in the door, and so that they leave, and when they see our bottle on the shelf at a Kroger or a Marsh, that they remember the experience that they had with Hannah, learning about Gewürztraminer. That's just a great example of the exact kind of training that we want to give them. But yes, there is a lot of flight training. There's a lot of
the best job.
It's the best training ever. Yeah.
How many employees do you have working in that, just in the tasting room?
In the hospitality department, we have about 55 part-time employees and 5 full-time. Okay. Yeah.
And then overall, you have
106, somewhere around there.
Like
between 100 and 110.
And one of the things I wanted to point out, which doesn't have anything to do with wine, but it does, is that it's employee owned. It's the only winery in the country, I believe, that's employee owned.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. Yeah. So we are an ESOP, an employee stock ownership program. And so in 2006, 2008, I can't remember the exact date, Bill Oliver and his wife Kathleen, who were the owners at the time, sold the winery to the employees. And so if you work a certain amount of hours, even as a part-time employee, if you work a certain amount of hours a year and you work all year, you are eligible to become vested in the company and earn stock in the company. And it creates this culture of we're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're here to get stuff done. And what we do matters every day for the health of the winery.
That's awesome. We had another one here that you wanted to talk about too. So let's maybe get that ready while we kind of talk about a couple other things. So I'm going to put you on the spot now. What's your most popular wine?
So everyone knows Soft Red.
Yeah.
would have to be the one that everybody knows. So Soft Red is a Concord-based wine. So it's a table grape. So it should taste like grapes. If we're being honest with the fruit, then it should taste like grapes. So that Soft Red is a little bit sweeter, and it is the best-selling wine in the state of Indiana.
Okay.
Yes, but the best-selling wine from the tasting room is a different wine. Is it still Catawba or is it Blueberry
Moscato? Pasta.
Talking about Catawba.
You can still talk about Catawba.
And then I realized, oh no, Blueberry Moscato is killing it right now.
I had the Creekbend Catawba yesterday, and it was darn good.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
it really
Catawba historically has been the number one selling wine from the tasting room, which is, it's cool that it's not Soft Red because everybody knows Soft Red and loves it, and you can get that anywhere, and that's wonderful, but it's cool that we get to highlight.
So the Catawba is typically only available in the tasting room and some select places.
Catawba is one of our Creekbend wines, which is one of the grapes that we grow at the vineyard, at Creekbend Vineyard. And it is the most unique flavor that I've tasted in a sweet wine. It has like notes of strawberry and peach. It's got really bright flavor, and it's a beautiful color too. I don't know if you noticed that when it was being poured in the glass. It's this bright pink color. So people see it on the shelf and they're like, what's that? I want to taste that. But apparently Blueberry Moscato is now outselling Creekbend Catawba in the tasting room.
Well, I want to encourage anyone, if you aren't into the dry reds and you do like the soft reds and things like that, go to the tasting room and get some Catawba because it was really lovely. That's the kind of thing, Karen, that I would want on a summer day.
Okay.
Like on a warm summer day, I want to be sipping a nice, cool. Okay, so what are we trying now?
Yes. So this that I'm pouring for you is Ginger Apple Fizz, and it is part of our pilot project series, which is really what it sounds like. It's a line of wines that our winemakers get to kind of experiment with and test out new flavors and blends. And this one in particular is an apple-based wine, so you could call it a cider.
Okay.
We call it wine, but it's made out of apples. And it has ginger extract in it. It's actually pure ginger extract.
Well, that's healthy for you.
Yeah, good for your gut.
Yes, ginger's good for you.
And it is unique in that it's got that, kind of like ginger fizz. Hey, that's why it's called that.
If you like sushi, this would be good with sushi.
Oh, that's really
Wouldn't
good.
it? With the ginger kind of thing going on?
The minute you said that, because I went to take a sip, but I smelled the ginger first in my nose.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were following the 5 S's.
Yes, I was.
Yes, and I think this is one that when I have the pleasure of pouring for customers, I always stop them and say, please, smell it.
Yeah.
Like, it's got such a cool, interesting aroma. And I think you can really smell the ginger almost even more than you can taste it.
For sure.
Yes.
And you can feel that ginger kind of, I keep saying fizz, but
that's what it
is.
It's aptly named.
It's called, but
we get in ruts in Eurus at home. He's like, I want you to make this, and because I love to cook, and so I cook, and so he's from the East Coast, and he said, I want hermit bars. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I've never in my life heard of a hermit bar.
And so we had to look at the recipe. And so I've been making hermit bars over and over and over this week. Well, it's got molasses and ginger and cloves and cinnamon. So this would be, and it's like kind of like a brownie, but it's got that gingery kind of thing going on with it. But it would be really good with this, which definitely feels fallish.
Yes, I think it is really fallish.
Yeah.
And the really cool thing about this wine, too, is that you can only buy this in the tasting room. So this is one that we don't distribute at all. And that's the same with all of our pilot project wines. This is the only pilot project currently, but some wines that you might be familiar with, such as cherry Moscato or blueberry Moscato, all started off as pilot projects. And those two in particular kind of got promoted, if you will, to being full-time wines on our list. And this is a flavor that we're testing right now, and there might be other flavors in the future that we test. So you have to come to the tasting room to have that experience.
And most underrated wine.
Ooh.
I already know what I think.
Okay, good. What do you think?
And I've been saying this. It's still the most underrated, but I've been saying this for about a year. I think it's the White Zinfandel.
Really?
Yes. So people, like, have you had a White Zinfandel before?
I have.
Have you had our White Zinfandel?
I have.
Okay, so I just think
it's
people
different.
have this perception, like, White Zinfandel is like the pink, like, easy wine that, like,
it's a starter wine.
Exactly. And I just think it's so much more than that, especially our White Zinfandel. The current vintage of it, it's not too sweet, but it's just sweet enough so that I think both sweet wine drinkers and dry wine drinkers really enjoy it. So if you were going into a party or giving wine away as a gift or serving wine at some sort of function, White Zinfandel is just a safe option. And the bottle is so beautiful. It's got Ken Bucklew blue bunting on it with a really pretty pink flower that brings out the color of the wine, which is pink. Yeah. Please, you have to taste White Zinfandel.
I will say it is a different Zinfandel than what you would just get off the shelf at Kroger or wherever. Because, like you just mentioned, if you go to like even a BBOR event or something like that, where they have like maybe
Board of Realtors.
Yeah, Board of Realtors. where they may have like maybe a few wines to choose from because it's part of the event. Right. Sometimes, I'm looking for the driest, but a lot of times the go-to for me in that case, if a red's not there, it's the Zinfandel, but only if it's Oliver's. If it's someone else, and then it's like, I don't know, maybe I'll go with a Chardonnay or something else. But yeah, definitely try.
Well, I love that too, that it's sort of it can please all kinds of people. So we definitely like that. All right, Ben, what's your underrated?
Oh, man. I think there's like a section for me that I think is underrated. And it's that semi-dry section where it's like the perfect harmony of a little bit of sugar, but not too much. So you've just got a little bit of sweetness in that Gewürztraminer, the Riesling, the Vignole, Treminette, the Indiana State Grape, Indiana Signature Wine. Really nice kind of sweet floral notes to it. So that's also where White Zen lives, is in that semi-dry list. But I think the one that surprises people the most when they try it, for me, the last couple months has been Chambourcin Rosé, which they see rosé, but it's in the dry white list, so they kind of don't know what to think about it. And it is a dry rosé, which are becoming more popular now. And it is my absolute favorite summer wine. It's a porch sitting wine, so just grab it, sit on your porch swing. You don't need any food with it. Just enjoy that on a hot day.
And that's really only $12 for a bottle?
Yeah.
That's a deal.
And if there's quantity discounts too. So you could get 6 bottles, get 10% off, 12 bottles. You get a whole case of that and get 20% off. And if you want to stock up for the whole summer, you can get 3 cases and get 30% off.
That lasts Karen a week.
Or you join the wine club.
And get an even better discount.
That's right.
My joke is that I do consume quite a bit of wine throughout a given week. I know there's only 168 hours in a week, but my husband's like, you never leave enough where the wine rack is full. I said, well, it shouldn't be full. Like, I always have wine if a guest is coming over, or make sure that it's always replenished. But I wanted to reiterate something you said in the first segment, which is there are wines that can only be purchased at the winery, because I never knew that. I never knew that. And depending on where I am, if I'm in a liquor store somewhere in Indiana or at the grocery store, what I see is what I see. And I don't even think that, there could be more flavors to choose from by actually going down the street, a few miles.
Yeah. So to that end, what are your hours? When are you open?
Yeah, so we are open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then 12 p.m. to 6 on Sundays. Yep. So noon to 6 on Sundays. Plenty of time to come, grab a bottle of wine, listen to live music. May through October, we have live music on Saturdays and Sundays.
And summer Saturdays, we extend hours historically to 8 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, on Saturdays.
And you've always got events going on, so check out the website.
Yeah, we've got lots of events listed on our website. They're different every season. Sometimes we might have Halloween candy and wine pairing, this time of year.
Ooh, fun.
Other times we have events where we highlight the gardens and the spring bloom. So we'll have an after hours event in the spring where we invite the public out to come taste some wines and shop around and enjoy the flowers. And we also host private events, so you can book the winery for whatever sort of family or company celebration that you have.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know we could go on and on and on and, drink more wine too, but we'll have to cut it off. So check it out, oliverwinery.com, but just stop by during their open hours. Go in for a quick tasting or a browse around. My experience there was everybody was incredibly helpful. And so it made it much less intimidating for me to, I'm not going to say I'm not a wine drinker, but I'm certainly not a connoisseur.
I mean, I'm not a connoisseur either. I just like what I like. Yeah. I like what I taste.
But what I like about this is you could go and do a tasting and find some new things that you like. Or I'm thinking, before we go on vacation or go on a cruise or something, like when we cruise, we drink a lot of wine. But to go and maybe have some, test some things out so you know what to order, when you're on a cruise or something like that. It could be a fun idea too. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
A lot of fun.
Awesome. We will be back with another episode. You are at home in Bloomington. Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions too. You can email me at deb@realrealestatetoday.com and follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karen Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Special thanks to superstar producer Rachel G. Gregorio, digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.